was like, how much is overnight shipping? And the lady was like, $111. I'm like, you are fucking joking me.
Yo, I'm Samuel Sarfo.
I'm Adam Dash.
And welcome to the Sound Centric podcast. Today is a very special day because this is the first time we're conducting interviews, and we brought a very special guest along with us. She's a native from Chicago, Illinois, and although she's from Chi-Town, she's been able to curate her own sound, go against the grain, and create a lane of her own, which is so refreshing in the music industry today. Since 2018, she has developed a catalog of over 40 releases, which shows how dedicated she is to her craft, including her recent debut album, Midas, with collaborator and fiance 730 Skylar. Her talents have been showcased on many platforms, including Swid Life, Buzz Music, Lyrical Lemonade, US Wire, Playday, Brain Bakery, and that's not even half the list. Her music has also been placed on numerous streaming playlists, including Spotify's Breakup R&B, Brown Sugar section. I mean, man, for our first interview, I don't think we'd want to have anyone else. Please give a warm welcome to
sir.
Morgan Gold.
Let's go. Yes, sir. The crowd.
Yeah! Woo! Thank you! Oh, guys, stop it. Hey, appreciate y'all,
Yes.
seriously.
No, we appreciate you, for real.
Yeah, obviously we've been talking on Twitter for a while, but amazing to finally get to talk to you in person and hear about this album that we've been listening to. So something that we do on the show to start our episodes, we'll give you a second to think about it, but we do a playlist name of the week, kind of just to describe if we had to give ourselves a playlist for how we're feeling this week, what would we call it, what would be a song on it. So for this week, my title and song is going to be Letting Off Steam by DJ Premier Joey Badass. I'm getting towards more the end of my internship, going back to school, and I'm kind of just letting off steam and making more music right now and trying to just get my stress out. I got my brother's wedding happening in 2 weeks, so got some fun things happening, so we're getting there. Sam, what's your playlist?
Congrats to the brother, man.
Thank
For me, I'm gonna name my playlist title Madonna. Like I told Morgan, I've been working on them vocal lessons real quick. For the song, I'm gonna do Head High by Joey Badass. He just dropped his album 2000 recently, so I've been bumping the heck out of that album. I heard it only sold 22K. I think it needs more love, but who cares about the sales, honestly? Morgan, hope you had enough time to think. No pressure. Breathe in, breathe out. What's your playlist title and leading single?
I'm gonna have to say title would probably be Summer Aura. Just because it's been a very eventful, eye-opening, and very busy but rewarding summer. And so I'm just kind of like, making sure that even, through staying busy with work and music and time with my fiance and dogs and family, just making sure to remember how special, that this summer felt. Lead song would probably be Pressure by Tendai, just because it's such a magical, like, upbeat, really beautiful song. He's one of my favorite artists right now. And damn, I might even go make that full playlist later.
What's his name again?
Summer Aura. Tendai, Ten. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Tendai. He's from the UK.
I'm gonna bump that shit. I'm gonna bump it immediately right after this.
He's dope.
So to get into things, me and Sam Sam recently graduated, and me going into my senior year of college right now. I'm just curious how serious were you taking music throughout college? What was kind of inspiring your sound around that time? And maybe just some tips that you have for people who are kind of in that stage of their career.
I went to school I have a bachelor's degree in comedy writing and performance from Columbia College here in Chicago. I grew up a really big, just, kid in performance, anything from musical theater to choir to music. I was songwriting from a very early age, but I fell in love with performing comedically. Like I got a real kick out of it, and so I wanted to explore it when I found out that there was a Second City option for a semester there at Columbia, and so I pursued it. But then I started taking music seriously again in early 2018 when I kind of just realized that I'm really good at songwriting, and at that point I was like, you know what, I've been doing it for too long to not try to release music. And I liked the fact that with comedy, you can only solicit one reaction. With music, you have, I think, way more creative freedom to exercise exercise your delivery, exercise your skills, exercise the effect that you want to have on your audience. So I started to like from the jump, I took it very seriously, which you know, for people who are just starting out, and I was thinking about this the other day, but by the other day, I mean like an hour ago, because it was very fresh on my mind. You want to take yourself very seriously from the beginning, but you have to realize that it is way like it's going to serve you better when you become the humble student. You know what I mean? Like, I started thinking that I was the shit and my goal was to be better than everybody else, rather than thinking that I was the shit and I had to just be the best version of me. But like, you know, the music industry can be competitive and it's a numbers game. It's like what did Drake say? It's an opinion based sport.
Yeah.
It's very true, and that can weigh it can weigh down heavily on your insecurities if you let it. But if you're really in it for the long run, then you don't, you know, you're looking for long term results. Fuck a quick high, fuck a number. Um, the way that you carry yourself and the passion that you find for music and the unique connection that you have with it is the goal always at the end of the day. And I think, you know, if you keep applying yourself with that same passion, eventually you're going to get good and people are going to think you're good too. So it's and it's very easy, you know, on social media to compare yourself to people, but and compare yourself to other numbers, but rather than thinking about it in a way of like, oh, I see that these people are on my timeline, they're getting 1,000 more streams than me. Look at it as like, wow, I am so happy to be making music in the presence of other great, amazing artists. How can I connect with them? How can I, you know, how can I do what they're doing, but in my own way? You got to really think about it as your own path that you know, can share with other people, but don't get caught up in the numbers. If you're really going to take it serious, then you're in it for the long run and for the right reasons too.
I would say first, I like that you said that you started out with comedy, because I remember when I was like 10, my brother was showing me Bo Burnham, and I like just fell in love with the way that he could like use words to mold into something so creative, even though back then it was so offensive, and maybe I shouldn't be listening to it at age 10. But like Bo Burnham and I don't know, hearing like Weird Al Yankovic songs for some reason, that got me
Oh yeah.
really into lyrics. So I like that you said that, because I think it's really true. I think that's great advice, because I think we all go on Twitter and we see other artists that might be doing numbers that either you know they're better than you or you think you might be better than them. So I think I like that you said to appreciate the fact that this is an opportunity to like network with them, and not everything has to be like a competition of numbers.
Yeah, if you think about it like a competition, then you're just gonna do everything out of desperation. And I was doing it out of desperation for a while, and I like the music was good, but it's way more exhausting to live a life when you're trying to like I'm a people pleaser, but it's very exhausting to be constantly trying to please people. And that's kind of what Midas it's kind of what Midas was about. It's what a lot of my music is about really dealing with the fact that like I chose a profession that relies on pleasing people, but my biggest problem, my biggest source of insecurity is the constant need to please people. So how do you find that happy medium? And that's what I think every artist to some degree goes through that. Even if you're an artist that's like, I don't give a fuck what people think about me. Oh, you're trying to satisfy yourself. You know what I mean? Like it's a balance that's really fun to navigate as long as you're having fun with the music.
And so at what point did you realize that you were making music maybe for others versus making it for yourself? And then what made you kind of officially make that change?
It was really early into me and Jamie, aka 730 Skylar's relationship. Literally on our first date, I told her that like I'm like the best artist in Chicago and all this shit.
Hey, talk your
And
shit.
yeah, I mean, it's a very head ass thing to say. and like, you know, I think like a couple of months later, I don't know how it came up, but she was like, you can still do this and want to be the best, but don't do this for the wrong
Mhm.
reasons. And it was kind of in that moment, and it had been burning in the back of my mind for a really long time. Because, you know, of course, like I was aware of the stress that I was putting myself under trying to literally be the best. It was in that moment where I was like, okay, from now on, I need to work on my shit in order to talk my shit.
Mhm.
You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
like that.
And from that moment going forward, like very soon after, we were a dynamic duo in music. Pretty much no one else produces or mixes me besides her. But I just had a healthier relationship going forward with music from there, and being able to find a new flame, a new passion, reignited for music. Finding that through her was so special that it also made me really cherish my relationship with music, because our relationship, I think, really healed and strengthened my relationship with music.
And I was gonna mention this later, but since you just mentioned it anyway, what is it like making music with your partner? And how important, because I think a lot of us kind of find music on YouTube, like beats, and maybe it's illegally download stuff. So how important as a musician is it to have someone that you're actually collaborating with that can kind of give you instant feedback if you're with them all the time?
I think anytime too, like, you know, whether it's your significant other or whether it's just like, you know, a producer that you work with personally. Also, Cody's chewing on a bone, so sorry about
You're
those
good.
noises. Um, so when you're, it's way more special when you're collaborating with someone like a producer that you're in the room with, because music is so personal to me, and the message that I want to convey through my music is like why I do music is specifically to, like, you know, give people a special feeling. And so being in the room with someone who is the other half, essentially 75%, let's be real, because she's producing and she's mixing it.
Mhm.
So being in the room with her is crucial, because also no one knows me better than her. So she automatically knows what I'm going to do, the emotion that I want to stir inside listeners. Um, and then making music with my significant other, it's crazy because, like, we understand each other on a very deep level already, but having that musical connection, it allows us to learn how to it allows us to learn how to communicate with each other. You know what I mean? Like, and not just on a spiritual level and or a creation level of, but oh, the way we go about working together.
Mhm.
Like, because, you know, tons of people are, you know, married or with somebody, but like there's a big difference between being in a relationship and being in a relationship with your creative partner. And it kind of takes the stress away, honestly, of any kind of what ifs or doubts, because anything that we really need to say to each other, or any way in which we need to see each other, that reflects so heavily in the music, which is a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, that really is a beautiful thing, and you can clearly hear it and see it when it comes to Midas. And I was really loving what you're saying when you said put the fact of pleasing others to the side. I know when it comes to artists, they start to hoard music. I mean, I look at this case too, where it's like hoarding music and trying to please people. But I had this theory, not even a theory, but like a stance. And I know some people may agree or not. But for me, it's F the fans. I appreciate the fans. I love the fans. But the fact is, if shit hits the fans low key won't be there. It's just gonna be you. And if you just follow what the
Yeah.
fans are doing, like let's say a Doja Cat, for example, we are talking about her earlier, being forced, oh, should I make these pop records, this record, that record? I know Cardi B was talking about how her album was pushed back and delayed because she doesn't know what record to make. And it's like at the end of the day, you're making music for yourself. For you, you know, you're making music with 730 Skylar, and
Yeah.
it's what you guys wanted to do. It wasn't any external influence at all. It's what you wanted to say and what came from your heart. And yeah, that's what I really appreciate about
Yeah,
music.
every artist has their own rhythm that works for them, no matter how famous or small you are. You have a rhythm that works, and your fans are extremely crucial because they're the receivers of your message. But at the same time, I don't think we talk enough about how respectful fans need to be. We all like, it's like when businesses are always like, the customer is always right. Well, not always, because you're providing the service. So to some degree, the fans need to all like, need to keep in mind too that like these are people.
Mm-hmm.
We for so long we've been worshiping celebrities like gods,
Yeah.
and in a sense we are. I was talking with fellow artist Byrie the other day, and she
Fire.
said something cool. She was like, "We are literally like gods because we're creators," and I thought that was so cool to say. And so I think it's really special the way that we, view people who have the ability to make great music, but at the same time, it's like we've seen so many cases before of fame literally killing people.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so as fans, you have to take some responsibility in, do you really want to comment that mean thing under that celebrity's post just because they're a celebrity and you don't think it's going to hurt them? Do you really want to follow them and stalk them to their hotel? Do you really want to bother? Like,
Yeah, people are weird with that shit.
Yeah. Did you still happen
people
to
are
Kid
weird
Cudi?
because
Yeah.
because the internet
Poor Kid Cudi.
has watered down relationships into being so transactional, because it's literally the way that social media and the way that we thrive.
Uh-huh.
You guys, just like artists, you guys make content, you guys want views, you guys to a certain degree have to put out shit that people find cool. But if the people on the other receiving end of that ask too much of you, that's not cool. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely feel
Yeah.
that. And I was watching a YouTube video clip of Quentin Tarantino was talking about the movie Get Out. And I like the way he said this. He said that Jordan Peele made something that fans didn't know they needed. Specifically for that topic, it was just the black audience didn't know that they wanted a horror movie about this stuff. So I think that goes with making music, that when I go say Kendrick Lamar takes a 5-year break, I know in my head what I want the album to be, but he's going to provide me something that I never knew I wanted. And that's like the beauty of being an
Yeah.
amazing artist.
Yeah, and I love that too, just because I love that too when an artist drops something that you don't expect, because it reminds us that there is still something new to see. There's still something new to hear, and that's what's so fucking beautiful just about art and the creation of it. And I think it's actually pretty cool too, though, like a benefit of fans, I think, having access to what we do is that a lot of people are starting to gain an appreciation for content creation,
Mhm.
especially independent content creation, because we're really truly understanding what we're capable of. But it doesn't need to be this big fan and then 100-foot pedestal celebrity. It can be a very nice what's the word, like symbiotic relationship,
Mhm.
and it can even be a healthy relationship, maybe to the point where even fame doesn't always have to result in an unhealthy negative situation.
The labels aren't
Yeah.
going to be happy about that, Morgan.
Hmm?
The labels aren't going to be happy about that. Screw the
Fuck 'em.
label.
Look, if a label wants to work with me, I'll be calling the shots, not them.
Yeah.
Are there any independent artists that you look to right now as a way to model your career, or just tips that you've learned from other independent artists?
Man, just like all around me. I mean, like, for starters, like, just being like really like active on Twitter, like,
Mhm.
Byrie Dende and Chris Patrick. Like, I watched the way that they I watched the way that they did rollouts, and I was really impressed by the creativity.
Yeah.
And that kind of taught me, like, okay, I know, like, and that was like right when I was like, starting to scheme about the Midas rollout, and I realized that there are so many unique things that you can do to make your fans feel included.
Mhm.
Even just like, my fellow artists in Chicago here, like, anyone that's performed on our girls' night lineup, my co-host No Montana, um, my DJ Highly Beats, Canvas. I learned too from them that you do not need anybody. You do not need to wait on people to tell you that you're hot. You got to go be hot and start your empire. And that's an amazing, yeah. And that's an amazing thing about Chicago. I was just telling someone in an interview the other day about this, but before the pandemic, I thought that Chicago was very cliquey because we don't really have a label presence out here. So everyone, I feel like to a sense, had to act like a hot shot to get treated like a hot shot. And that's very normal when, like, you know, artists are on the come up trying to get their own lane established. But then after the pandemic, you really started to see independent art rely on each other, because we need each other. We, like, you know, just like you need artists and we need platforms like you in order to grow, in order to have something to talk about. And it doesn't have to be just for the sake of somebody kissing somebody's ass. It can be, you know, build with the independent artists that you want to build with, that you want to be associated with, that you can learn from. Anyone that I look up to or want to work with right now is because I have something to learn from them. And just another quick example, Jamie is, and it was originally a mixtape, but now it's going to be individual singles dropping nearly weekly. But she organized a big group of her clients for Two Queens Studios and made a mixtape. And just understanding the fact, too, that we don't need to wait for these other bigger artists to collaborate with us to make us work hard. We can push each other to work hard. We can literally get a group of 3 or 4 artists that we're friends with and push each other like a fucking label writing camp would push us. Because if we're that serious about it and we see that much greatness in each other, then that's all we need. That's all we need.
I love what you said about constantly learning. I think that's so important to constantly be learning. And I think, and I've definitely fallen victim to this, like if you make a whole body of work and you release it, you just expect people to listen to it. And you're like, oh, should I post again? Am I being annoying? And I saw some artist said that if you put this much time into your work and you're confident in it, like post about that shit. Like no one else is going to do that for you. And that's something we've learned making this podcast, that people aren't just going to listen to it because we put it on Spotify, that we have to be providing content and we have to keep posting, even if it might be pure annoying to some people. It's like you got to be proud of what you're making.
You're gonna be annoying. You're gonna be annoying to some person. Like that. Like it took me a really long time to get over that. Like, you know, do you, like, you know, it's like, oh, do you want to be the bitch that's always posting about your music on Facebook? Yes, you do. Because if it's good, then it doesn't matter how many times you post it. Like, you know, if you've got the number, you know, if you got the #1 album in the country, of course you're gonna post about it every fucking day. And you know what? Even if you don't, and you put out something that you're really proud of, post about it every day. I think the fear is that it's gonna sound too repetitive, which is fair, but, like, you know, that's where the creativity in the TikToks come in. Like, I didn't know what to post, so I, you know, made a video of playing fetch with my dog with backup in the background, and boom, that's a TikTok with 300 views. Like, you know what? Like, you know, that's something. And as a young artist, it's just kind of initiation to come across as desperate. If you're starting from square one, you want to be heard more than anything. So what are you going to do? You're going to post your shit everywhere. You're probably going to spam way too many people way too many times. I did it. And I learned. I had people say, "Hey, yo, you're doing too much. Back off." But you know what? A lot of those interactions ended up turning into people that I have mutual respect with. Because, you know, when everyone's young and getting started, like, of course you're gonna be a little eager McBeaver, like that happens. And I think it's healthy to work through that. I think it's healthy to find effective communicative tools that work for you, both towards your fans and towards people that you're trying to network with. This shit's hard and it's exhausting. And depending on what your communication skills are, like, you know, before you come into this career, you know, there's shit that you're going to learn. There's approaches that you're going to have to adjust. It's okay. But it's again, if you're in it for the long run, you're gonna grow up with this shit, and
Mm.
you're gonna make mistakes, and it's okay.
Yeah, that's the mentality you really have to have, especially when you're talking about um, in regards to what were you saying before? Man, I hate when that happens. But basically, even with that mentality, that's what you have to have in order to strive as an artist. Again, like you can't really care what people have to say. And oh yeah, the biggest thing was doing shit for yourself. Like you don't know how many people wait on others to get stuff done. It's like, nah, you don't need that person, you don't need that promoter, you don't need that producer. Worst case scenario, you learn it yourself. That's gonna benefit you in the future, you know? So
Yeah,
that's the mentality you have to succeed, especially being independent. And I guess that's why a lot of people sign labels too, because it's just like they know they can do the work. But again, what are you risking to lose by signing that contract?
exactly. And whatever business deal that comes in the future, like it'll come. But I think right now, the work, like for example, like giving myself the chore of handling my own rollout for an album with damn near no budget, like that. I think, and I was already whooped into shape, but I think this really just taught me that I'm happiest when I have the majority of the creative control.
Mm.
Just because like it's my art and it's my message, and until I'm mature enough to understand how I'm profitable and to understand how to execute my goals on a large scale, I want to do a majority of that shit first
Mm.
and have that success come from me before it really goes into labels and all that jazz. Because like, I mean, going into making this album, there were a few people that were even like, you shouldn't drop an album or you should wait.
Mm.
And the more I got told that, the more convinced I was to put the album out when I did.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look, because when Midas came out, that put my discography over 50. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I was already sitting on 40 records. Why would I not do an album?
Mm.
And that's the thing, is like I ultimately know what my vision is, and the vision for Midas came together so quickly and so naturally between me and Jamie that it just made sense. And that's not some that gut feeling, that intuition isn't really something that like a label could bring you. They could bring you expertise,
Mm.
and eventually I'd love a little team of organized crime. Shout out Tyler Blankenship. He came
Yeah.
up with that.
I like
Uh,
that Twitter thread with all the names.
yeah, no, and hey, look, I'm gonna let the fan bases decide that one. But yeah, no, like Midas was a treat to do, and it was a really big elevator in my career, just for the sake of appreciating like the hard work and the passion for it.
So did you go into Midas saying, I'm making a project called Midas? Did you have like 2 or 3 songs that you started realizing there was a common theme and that led to an album? So how did you know it was time to make an album?
Yeah, so basically around December, I'm kicking Cody out for a second. He can take a nap. So around December was when we actually made the demo to Home. um that was the first song that got recorded, and that was that was like right after we dropped Healing, the
Mm.
EP. And we said too, because we had done 2 EPs that year, and so we were just like, after this, like it is time for an album. Like we're
Yeah.
not fucking around with these 5-6 track EPs anymore. And albums are hard, and I wanted the challenge. I've been waiting for it, so we made Home. We knew we had an album. Then we made then I believe we made Back Up next. And Back Up, immediately we knew was gonna be the first single
Yeah.
for it. Like
Slapper.
yeah, we just knew. The song came together pretty quick too. It only took about an hour and a half, like 2 hours, to really get that first demo in. Um, so we knew we had an album there, and um, Big Bang and a couple other tracks just kind of started coming in. Everything was pretty much produced between like December and May. pretty much. But we got the title. Oh my God, Cody. We got the title of Midas from Big Bang because we wrote it, realized that was like gonna be it was like the oddball but the crucial track of the album.
That's my favorite track. I love Big Bang.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was, again, like that was a really, we knew that song was going to be special once we made it. So I started writing the lyrics, and the first line of the verse is, not trying to overanalyze it, quietly living like Midas. And immediately when I wrote that line, I was like, that's the title of the album right there, is Midas.
Fire.
Wow.
Yeah. Because also too, the more and more I thought about it, I started seeing like all these like, Midas references in people's songs. And I'm like, that's cute, but my last name is Gold.
There it
So
is.
that's
Yeah.
my title now, bitch. And so it had to be done. But yeah, no, the theme was very clear. It's definitely, based on the legend of the curse of, the gift and curse of being able to touch everything and turn it to gold. But the guy Midas, King Midas, he died starving because he couldn't eat, couldn't hug any of his loved ones or anything like that. And Midas, to me, was kind of like my God complex. Like everyone's got a God complex, and so Midas is mine because I got all the power in the world. I can do whatever I want. I can, I make great ass music. Boom. I'm a pretty decent person with a positive impact on people. Boom. But you're on top of the world, but then you kind of start to realize that you can get so immersed yourself in that passion that when you kind of lose sight of the real love that you have around you, not the material love, the real love, the people who've been there for you. um Things can go to shit pretty quick because you realize how lonely, like, life can actually be if you don't have that real foundation. And particularly in the album too, like, Jamie kind of served as my foundation, as kind of like that point of focus, that home that I needed to return to. And that was cool about already knowing what the last song was going to be, because I knew that's the thing. It's like I knew where to return to. I knew where home was. And that's the thing with writing albums too for me, is that I take the storyline very seriously. I put the storyline before anything else. Like, I need to know, I need to have a character, I need to have a theme, because then that just makes the writing so much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're talking about how difficult it was to make the album, that's totally understandable. And although I was fearful, I mean, it's come to fruition, and I know Midas is doing amazing numbers and doing a great job right now. And it's obviously difficult because as indie artists, you have to decide, okay, should I just drop singles every weekly, like you said, 730 Scala was doing, try to get as much traction for each song? Or you also have that fear, like, okay, this one great song will be hidden in an album, and if it's not packaged and released correctly, people may not find it. So for you, did you have any tracks that didn't make the cut list for this album? Was it difficult to just have the set number of tracks that you had? Then also with marketing, what was your decision to come up with the single, and how would you market that?
I don't think anything got left off. In fact, Comeout was almost a throwaway. We made
Man,
that.
that's crazy.
I was almost right about that.
That's my
Yeah,
favorite. That's my favorite.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're almost right about that. Comeout was made very last minute. Like, I think either
Man.
the week of mastering or the week before,
Mhm.
and it that just came supernatural. And then, like, right after we made it, we submitted it to Kayvon's Twitch stream, and he said, "This is my favorite thing you've ever made." And I was like, "Oh, well, I guess the album's getting
Yeah.
another single." And initially, I only wanted to do Backup as a single because the
Mhm.
story of the album and just the album itself was so important to me. And my chat, and the thing was, the album was not difficult to make. The making and writing of the album was the easy part. It was marketing, it was the hard part, because it's already hard enough these days to remember an album with all the other shit that's dropping, I really wanted to take the storyline of it seriously. And so that's why we had, we didn't just have a single, we had a commercial. We had a surprise single. We had a listening party. All the little like vibey snippets that we dropped, just
Mm-hmm.
because I really like wanted to stress that Midas isn't just an album, it's a whole other dimension. You know what I mean? Which is, I think, how albums should be. It should literally immerse you into this artist world that they've made. So we were originally only going to do Back Up as a single, with the video done by Eddie Supa, who he and I are actually doing a video together for Forgiveness. That'll come out in the fall. We were originally just wanting that to set the stage because I think it served as a great single, and I think it served as a wonderful thematic introduction to the album, of just being like, hey, like, I don't know what I want. I don't know whether I want all the attention or all the glory, or whether, no, it's overwhelming, I want to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
Then we made Come Out, and then I was like, fuck it, surprise single. And that, I think, helped elevate it even more, which is why I think everything was just meant to happen the way it happened.
Yeah.
And then Empty, we did the surprise video, we did the release of that, which we weren't even going to drop that as a single, but I just wanted, because visuals are always a favorite part of an album rollout to me. Like if you look at the last 3 weekend projects, My Dear Melancholy, After Hours, Dawn FM, they were all visual driven.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very cinematic guy. And that, I think, is so freaking cool, because I think it helps the listener to understand the world that they're about to become a part of.
Uh,
So that's where really, like, the driving point was for the marketing of this album, was trying to get the listener to understand the world that they were about to dive into. And then the intro of the album is literally the act of me taking your hand and being like, I'm with you. Everything's fine. Here we go. You know what I mean?
yeah. And just one last question, 'cause I want to touch on Come Out, which is probably my favorite or second favorite next to Big Bang on the album. And you were talking about just your writing skills. How hard is it to write something that's so honest, like a song like that? Because
Yeah.
I'm sure all independent artists can relate, and I can relate to writing lyrics and thinking, is this something I want the world to know about myself, or these thoughts I want to share? And you did it so beautifully on that song.
Thank
It was
you.
easily my favorite track. Honestly, it was incredible. And the
I've been
songwriting,
living
when you're
so
like,
comfortably.
yeah. And even when you're like, who said you can't hurt with words? They try to pray for you in the church, but your blessings are cursed. Like, bruh, come on.
She
It,
Come
got
on.
bars.
it's crazy because my mind just kind of went on autopilot, and it was one of the quickest songs I had written for the album. Like,
Wow.
songs like Masterpiece and I'm With You took a few weeks to write, whereas Come Out took 10, 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
It it was really awesome when I did write it, because even though, and not to say that I'm not proud of it, because I am extremely proud to be a queer artist, but didn't want I wanted my music to I didn't want my music to just be around that. So I
Mhm.
didn't really know how to write a song about my coming out experience, because I wanted to establish such a larger than life feeling that, being, whether you're gay or whether you're straight, or no matter what your identity is, there's so much more to life than, like, us trying to label each other by our
Yeah.
differences. But
Yeah.
I made the song, and I was so proud of myself, because it really is a pretty accurate description of how I felt. Like, I really tried to convince myself for a long time that I wasn't straight. I stand One Direction, for fuck's sakes. Try to convince the world that I wasn't gay. But um and I got to the end of the verse, and Jamie is actually behind the lyrics of I've been living so comfortably, I've come conceited. I know these bitches, they come for me, I'm coming cleaner. Those 4 bars were her. And then she and I bounced off of each other in the second verse. And because we're both lesbians, it was
Yeah.
so awesome. And also too, like, the other kind of meaning behind that song too, it's not just about, like, and I haven't, like, not even just about the act of coming out, But literally, I feel like since the pandemic, we've been so dedicated to our work that not much else matters. So it's like, why would we want to really entertain everybody else's bullshit when, we've got our own shit to do? We ain't coming out right now. We're busy.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was my favorite track from the album. I'm surprised it was almost a throwaway, but thank whoever gave you the advice for putting it as a single and keeping it on the album. I thank them greatly because that's my favorite track.
Thank
Morgan, we're
you.
so grateful to have you here to talk with us. We're honestly so proud of you. We've been following you for a minute, and we've seen you been performing lately so hard, doing so many different gigs, and I know that all of it will come to fruition one day.
Thank you,
But is
man.
there anything we want you to have the platform to share any news to the audience at all, whether way to support you, merchandise, stuff like that?
I mean, shit. Like the best way that you can support me, and I tell this to everybody, is just to listen to the music and make your own connection with it. Because I think if you do that, that's powerful enough to have everything else follows. Like, obviously, I'd love for you to subscribe to my Patreon, Morgan Gold Music. You can buy merch. Which, by the way, Sam, I am getting the shipments out. I did
Don't
not.
worry,
Okay,
I know
no,
it's
no, no,
coming.
no. Look, here's the thing. Here's something that I learned as an artist. Shipping is fucking expensive.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
expensive.
I was at no. So I was at FedEx the other day, and just kind of waiting in line to just buy the packages to ship them in, and someone was like, "How much is overnight shipping?" And the lady was like, $111. I'm like, you are fucking joking me. But yeah, you can definitely buy merch because that shit is very fun to make too. And shout out Eli Johnson. He did the logo for that. I
Shout
put
out
on I
Eli.
put on one hell of a live show, so if you're in Chicago, please come. I frequent Sub T and Reggie's a lot. Those are my main venues. And I mean, all in all, again, just listen to the music. Listen to the music, make your
Stream
own.
her music.
Yeah, listen to the music. If you like that Morgan Gold music, follow me at Morgan Gold Music. I say that in all my shows, and people think it's cute. And I'm gonna say it here again.
Yes, sir. Well, Morgan, thank you
Amen.
so much for coming and joining us, being our first honoree, first interview. There's no one else we'd want it to be.
I'm so honored. Thank you guys so much. Seriously, I love your platform. I support you guys 1,000,000%. If there's anything that you need me to help to share and get the word out for anything, you let me know. Like, you guys are homies. I got you.
Thank you.
Love you. Thank you. Guys, hope you learned a lot from Morgan. Shit, I was even taking notes. But thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see y'all. We are out.
All right, word.
We did it.
Yes, good work, Cody.